Alright, so on record. Tell me the topic, Todai Ryan.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you your opinions about Bruce Lee's concept of emotional content. What is that? How do you train for that? What does he mean by it? You see it just, briefly in Enter the Dragon when he's talking to his student, but, you see it pop up in his writings too. I got my own ideas about what it is, but I wanted to hear what you thought.
Alright, can you refresh me about what he has said about it in the movie and some of the books?
Yeah. In Enter the Dragon, at the beginning when he has a student that he's having tea and he's having like a business meeting with that guy that wants him to go to Hans Island, and then his student walks up. He's like, "Okay, wait, it's Lao's time or whatever." He's going to go teach his student. So he tells his student to kick him. So the student, tries to kick him, and he says, "What is that? What was that? An exhibition?"
Yeah.
Use your emotional content. And so the kid tries to kick again, and he says, "I said emotional content, not anger." Right. With me. I've watched this movie once or twice. I got the whole script in my head.
That's funny.
But yeah, like when I grew up, when I was training, but when I was growing up from like 12 to 18, it was very JKD influenced. And the guy had trained with Inosano and all that stuff, and he always talked about emotional content. My Sifu back then, he kind of said we had like keys to the training and stuff. He would say, confidence, physical conditioning, ki, emotional content. These are kind of like the key concepts and key practices and stuff. And I always kind of looked at it as like controlled emotion. Like sometimes you have to turn on aggression, even if you're not an aggressive person. You have to be able to turn it on, but in a controlled way, so it's not actually like free flow anger or something like that, or like like the kind of crazy aggression you might see in some of the fighters that actually just want to kill the other guy or whatever. But it's checked. But well, I don't know. It's controlled emotion.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be controlled anger. It could be controlled all kinds of different emotion.
Okay.
That's my thinking about it.
Well, I remember that scene, and I think that Bruce is just using like different types of terminology that basically just using a different terminology that essentially leads to the same thing. And like the way that I see it is that when he says emotional content, it's just his different way of saying like being in awareness to me, like being in meditation basically. Like to me, emotional, like the way what I draw from it is just basically being free from emotions. Like emotional content. It's like basically that energy that you have inside, but it's not to an extreme on either end. Like anger is to the extreme, and
Right.
then like fear is like, anger is an expression of fear as well. But anger and fear and insecurity, those are all like extremes. Like to me, emotional content is just basically being in the moment and just basically like executing like at your highest level in the moment. So in basketball, they used to have a term, I don't know if they still use it often, but it's like the guy's like in a zone.
Yeah.
He's just like in the zone where like everything is just going like effortlessly. And I think that's what I get from it, from what he's saying. But I think he's just using a different terminology, just like, because if you read different psychologists, they would coin like different things, like Abraham Maslow, for example, would use that term like self-actualization. Like,
Right.
He's like the only one that I would read that actually would say that. But when he promotes his work, and then people get familiar with that word, but it's just a different way of saying like pretty much the same thing. Like achieving like enlightenment, or being conscious. Being
Right.
aware. Different religions and different psychologists and different people, they pretty much label things it's pretty much directing towards the same thing, but they just use it different words. So Bruce Lee's use of emotional content to me is similar to like my use of meditation, like being in meditation. Like what the samurais would have to do is like they would have to be in the meditation, and just like you just like you're just in the moment, like you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future. And in the sparring situation, you're not in fear, but at the same time you don't have anger. You're just in that moment, and you're ready to respond, and you're ready to perform,
Right.
at your highest level. That's what I get from it. But he, obviously he reads like different books, and he would be using terminologies that he draws from like different experiences. Now, if he was speaking in Chinese, he'd say the same thing, but in a different way. So,
Right.
but he was speaking English. But say he would have said in Chinese like Wu Wai, then that's like effortless effort. Then is drawing towards the same thing. So, I think that a real somebody that's really at a high level of martial artist, like he doesn't respond off of emotions. Like the emotions, like he's a master over the emotions. He's not like controlled by the emotions. So he's not
Right.
like fighting out of fear or anger, but he's just in the moment and performing in that moment. So, I'll bring it back to basketball or other sports, for example, like it has to be controlled. Like it's this energy. Like somebody is like, say, trash talking you, and they're trying to get to your head. They do that in a lot of sports. They do it in basketball. They do it in boxing. They try to get to your head. They talk to you, and they try to get you in anger, because they know, and it's shown through in the past that when they get you angry, you're not going to be able to perform at your optimum.
Right.
But if you let that trash talking in a way, it could bring this energy within you. But then it's like adrenaline. Like you get this energy within you, but then if you direct it in the proper way, it actually helps you perform at even a higher level.
Right.
But you don't let it like overcome you and become anger. So it's like, say you're playing basketball and somebody's talking trash to you, and all of a sudden you get so mad that you punch them, then basically you lost the game. But if you learn to control that, and then you basically get back at him with your talent and skill on the courts, then essentially that talking trash could have like increased your ability to perform at whatever craft that you're doing at that moment. But when it comes to fighting, like, people get you too angry. You think that, hey, the more angry that I am, the better that I'm gonna be. But that's not how it is. It's just anger is like it's an extreme. It's just going like too far with it, and then basically ends up decreasing your ability to perform. So there's like this balance where you can't be too relaxed, but then you can't be too hard. You gotta be in that center, that balance, and that's what Bruce is all about, and that's what the Chinese martial arts really promotes a lot, and what a lot of the expressions is that balance, so that balance between soft and hard, the flexible. It's just like just following that philosophy of when he talks about like being like water. Water's not rock. He didn't say be like rocks. You know what I'm saying? He said be like water, because water's a balance, more of a balance. And then the Chinese philosophy, they always talk about like the bamboo tree and stuff like that. Like how the flexibility lets it live longer. So it's not like an oak tree where it's just like it just breaks on you. So there's that balance between hard and soft that you need to get. You can't get too soft, you can't get too hard. So he's just basically trying to get to that balance, you know, trying to promote that balance. So emotional content to me is more about balance and it's more about meditation. It's just a different way of saying it. That's what I get from it.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, you know, when you put it that way, because it's almost like, you know, the same thing he's tried to show. He tried to show other times where he did movies or film where he's trying to, you know, it's the same thing. Just kick, just do the kick, you know.
Yeah.
Just be the kick for this moment, hey.
Yeah.
And you know, the kid was at first he was trying too hard. What is that? An exhibition, and then he tries again, but it's just in anger. So yeah, I could see where he's pushing him toward that kind of meditation. Maybe by emotional content he meant like emotional contentment or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have been content instead of content.
well, it's just the way that people say things in different ways, and you know, just like for me, like I keep using philosia because I get that from Osho.
Right.
You know, and Osho, you know, he basically created his own word. Like that word didn't exist. He created it. And be like, you know what? I don't believe in philosophy. What it should be is philosia. And he's explaining the meaning of philosia. And that's kind of the way I see it too. So I started to use that term as well. And then now more and more people, they always send me questions like, what's your philosia on this? So people are just getting familiar with the word. You know, and that's just how, like I said, you know, like that's how new things start. You know, like people create new words and then they put the meaning behind it. So, like, really, you'd have to really ask Bruce, like, what he really means by that, because he's the one who's using it, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I get from it. But, like, when they use the word, they'll have their own twist on it. Like, even the word love, it doesn't mean the same to everybody. Because we all have different experiences of what it is, you know? And, and you know, I remember there's some psychologist that, you know, he just kept... You know, he started using the word like introvert and extrovert, and now that everybody uses that too, you know what I'm saying? To explain like different personalities and stuff. So, like emotional content, like I said, you know, it's just, that's my take on it. You know, he's just talking in a different way, you know, leading towards like, you know, a better development. You know, fact of the matter is, in that movie, in that specific scene, he was indicating for here, you know, it's a clear fact he was indicating that you're not supposed to fight out of anger. You know what I'm saying? He's clearly indicating that. And that's the most important, that's one of the important concepts to grasp from that whole scene, is that in that example, he shows that you fighting out of anger, you're fighting like a child, and that's not how you're supposed to do it. This is the way, this is the way you're supposed to do it. And that's basically what he was teaching. And you see a lot of these people that claim themselves to be like professionals or think they're the best, a lot of them fight out of anger. And obviously that's not the highest level. You know what I'm saying? That's not the highest level. They might win, and they do win sometimes, you know, but that's still not the highest level. You know, and it's not just about winning or whatever. It's also about like once you put anger and you don't have control over it, it's not art anymore. You know what I'm saying? They might be very violent and they might be good at being violent, but it's not art. It's just like somebody's just really angry and then he just stabs somebody just because he's angry, or somebody's just really angry and just shoots somebody. That's not art. That's just violence and anger. And when you're very angry and you're filled with rage, you may become stronger. You might have a lot of strength and you might be able to kill a lot of people, but that's not art. That's not martial art. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was trying to get at the beginning. Like my understanding of it as a kid was more like, well, it's like Bruce was an actor too, hey. So he was you know, probably constantly thinking about, you know, how to really be a good actor as well in the martial, as well as a good martial artist. Maybe some of that emotional concept for him had to do with, you know, yeah, you know, you should be able to use your body in all of these ways any way you want, when you want, just like that. Maybe you should be able to control your emotions just as much, eh? To be able to use your emotions any way you want, as you want them, you know, just like that. Instead of your emotions controlling you, you know, you should be the artist of your emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's, like I said, it's leading towards the same thing. It's just basically, it's like leading towards like controlling that ego, you know,
Right.
and not having that ego overcome you, and it's you know, that could be like a lifelong struggle, you know, or just it's a lifelong challenge, you know. It's just when you're engaging in sparring or you're engaging in combat, you're talking about a situation that develops probably the most emotions possible in any type of experience, you know,
Right.
and then learning how to deal with it and control it. That could be very good, like in a way, like spiritual training, you know,
Yeah.
like basically activating, putting yourself in a situation that's activating the anger or fear or insecurity, and then seeing how you deal with it and overcome it, you know, rather than just like running from it, you know, because actually
Right.
this could be like, in a way, this could be very effective, like you know, psychological or spiritual work that
Right.
that could really like help you become a better person, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So,
All right, so that's good for that one.
uh,